In this week's episode, we'll discuss the topic the profit driven class schedule, why your schedule matters more than you think. Welcome to Black Belt Banter, the best podcast to help your martial arts school increase profit and generate substantial revenue. I'm Jimmy Hong. I'm joined by my co host, Master Tony Chung, an accomplished multi school location owner generating millions annually, renowned for building scalable systems and high performing academies. Master Jay Lee, a logistics and operations expert who owns and operates massive martial arts schools, 9,000 and 7,000 square feet, and is known for optimizing systems with precision and efficiency. Master Philip Jeung, a second generation martial artist, six Dan Cookie One black belt, and Fordham Gabelli MBA graduate, combining elite curriculum expertise with world business strategy. Before we get started, I just have a quick favor to ask our audience. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our future episodes. And for those listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, please take a moment to rate and leave us a review. It really helps us reach more martial arts school owners and continue bringing you valuable content. And if you have any questions, topic ideas, or you'd like to connect with us directly, feel free to email us at jimmyhong at blackbeltbanter.com. We love to hear from you, especially if there's something specific you'd like us to cover on our future episodes. Let's get back to the show. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Master Tony, let's just get started right away. What does profit driven class schedule actually mean to you, sir?
I think that one of the first things that I do when I go visit a school or if I go into one of my own schools or I've bought and sold 12 locations in Georgia other than the existing schools that I have is when I go evaluate a school, one of the first things that I do other than the student roster and their statement of cash flows and everything is I have to look at their schedule because it lets me know the pressure that is on their delivery mechanisms, right? So we have when you first start a business, one of the first things you have to focus on as you scale your business and you make your first hire or so is you want to try to have someone that ideally is helping you with fulfillment with the delivery of your classes, and your class schedule will be reflective of how you service those members, what that teaching pressure feels like, and see how it incorporates from there. So schedule is a hugely important thing. If you have an aftercare, your schedule is going to be built different if you have one floor or two floors. If you have an upgrade program, if you do mainly families, or if you just specialize with kids, or if you have an adults program, all of those things come into effect. And also the other activities that you're competing with in your area. What nowadays there's so much inundation with the schedule. It's just looking at your schedule, it gives us a glimpse. And the hard thing is that once you look at the initial schedule, whether they're teaching 20 classes a week or they have some schools have over 40, 50 classes a week, depending on how many floors they have. There's schools that are open Monday through Sunday now. Some schools they outsource like a jujitsu program or kickboxing or yoga. They might have a mommy and me class. So the schedule is hugely important as it is about the model because that is our delivery mechanism for the service that we offer. That's regardless of the cell phones that you have. What is your bandwidth? What is your network like? What is your delivery platform? And it affects customer experience. Are you having small private group training where it's Orange Theory is trying to promote, where it's all about private group training? So they're trying to charge a little more tuition, but it's smaller than like a huge packed class. All of those things come to effect. And then on top of that, there are the lenses of what the programming is like, what attendance frequency is, what some people have people come every day because they're in aftercare. Some aftercares only offer martial arts a few days a week because they have other activities going on. But just seeing the traffic and the flow and just it gives you a schedule is like the center of a major part of a spider web. So if the schedule doesn't convene all of those concepts and those multiple layers of the lenses of the things that move the needle in the business, it could be what is making a school successful or what's keeping them and capping them for success.
Master Jay Lee, what's the biggest scheduling mistake most martial arts schools owners make?
I think that what Master Chung said is really correct. It really depends on the philosophy of the school and what their targets and goals are. I think one of the big mistakes I think people make is they make decisions without looking at the data. So they might say, oh, we're going to cut this class, we're going to add this class, but the data doesn't support it. So I think that's the first thing, is making sure you're looking at data. What are your class attendance looks like, and what are the programs that people are enrolling to help push that? So as an example, if you have a toddler program and um, you're taking a lot of your classroom time, but you're just not getting a lot of kids in it, then it's something you have to adjust your schedule. Maybe you don't need that many classes. So I think number one is data. I think for me, one of the things that we found is that um, before COVID, we used to run like 6, 7 classes a day. And then through COVID, we started combining levels. And so we just ended up with bigger classes. And then over time, we realized that it works a whole lot better. Like, you're just more efficient with your class schedule. It allows your staff and students to get out of here earlier. I think that's one of the big takeaways we learned from COVID is that you can accomplish still the same thing without spreading it out over 6 hours. And I think it's all about efficiency of using your classroom space, and then also finding what's an ideal time for your families. I think a lot of parents who are making decisions on enrolling their kids to the program, they look at their whole family schedule, and a lot of kids, their bedtime is like 7, 8 o'clock. So if you're having classes that go till 7:30, it just makes it really difficult for them. So efficiency is really critical. Understanding who's attending those classes and how it drives your revenue, I think all impacts those decisions you make when making your class schedule.
Master Philip, your thoughts on the class schedule? Does it matter how school owners put 4 o'clock instead of five? Is there any difference, or what is your opinion and expertise there?
Sure. Class schedule is everything to me. To me, class schedule is probably one of the most important components when it comes to class management. And what Grandmaster Chung said about looking at the class schedule first before you look at all the spreadsheets, completely true. And what Master Jay Lee had pointed out, the efficiency of how you run your classes is very important. These are two very, I guess you could say, almost instrumental things you have to look at before you implement anything. When I look at class schedule, I look at it as supply and demand. Okay? Demand for our new students coming in, they have to be easy to be able to enroll. So if you only have 2 new beginner classes offering on during the week, it's going to be very difficult for them to enroll. So what we did was we offer 5 beginner classes throughout the week, right? So it's very easy for them to enroll. But at the same time, you have to keep your solid belt students or your current members, right, engaging throughout all the hurdles and obstacles of extracurricular activities, other sports, et cetera, et cetera. So what I did was I staircased my schedule so that, let's say you are a brown belt, then you are eligible to come twice a week. However, you have class options throughout the whole week in different times. Monday at 5, Tuesday at 7, Wednesday at 4, Thursday at 6:30. And I staircased it in a way so that they had multiple times and days to choose from. And I think these are very important things. And most importantly, the black belts, right? You look at some schools, I'm like, look at the schedule. I'm like, wait, you only have three black belt classes. How do you expect your black belts to stay after they receive their black belts? So I have black belt class every day, right? So it is the last option for them to say, sir, I no longer can train because I can't come. You only offer three black belt classes during the week. So I offer afternoon and evening black belt classes throughout the whole week, Monday through Saturday. And I think one of the hot topics nowadays is, do we operate 5 days or 6 days? And I personally believe that is the owner's choice. But if you run a certain curriculum, like rotating curriculum, it's completely doable to run 5 days and to still be very efficient. I personally choose to stay at a 6-day model because that's what my demographic demands. I look at my Saturday schedule, it's packed. I can't close Saturday. It's one of our busiest days because we are in a suburban town, right? And it is what our members demand. So I have to meet that demand. Going back,
so you should just open 7 days, Master Philip. I mean, that's what all your students said. So you should be on there on Sunday, okay?
Well,
No, that's it.
No, no, no.
That's
But I have not tracked Sunday stats. I have never tracked Sunday stats, so you never know. Sunday could be a WAPS, right? It's just Saturday that they love. So I choose to open 6 days, and I'm very happy with it. Sure.
oh, that's a great point because that was my question is, and anyone could answer this. Do you give parents multiple options? Be like, hey, come all these days, or are you strict and be like, no, your classes will be on Tuesday, Thursdays of this week? What do you recommend a typical school owner to do? Give them multiple options so they can't say no, Master Philip, or do you give them specific options and they have to conform to your schedule? Master Tony, what do you say about that?
Sorry, my mind was running. I help run I'm part of the team for the ASA consulting program, and I was working with somebody this past week, and they were trying to grow their program. They have about 123 students. Actually, I have some notes on the board still. And their student breakdown is basically they have these little tiger program. They had 3 students. Their beginner discovery program, they had 18. They had an upgraded kids program from Discovery, had 20. Then they have where the adults start that combine with the intermediate advanced level kids. They call that advanced because I guess they start the adults in that program. They have 24. And then they have like red belts and above, they have 28. And then they have 30 second dans and above. And this is obviously a mature school. They have 58 members out of the 125, 123 or so that are above red belt. And then they were asking for help because they want to maximize, they want to expand a second location. I don't know anything. So initially I'm in discovery mode. So I was like, hey, let me see, because I don't know where to start other than you get some numbers, right? You figure out gross expenditures net, you start diving into gross and then in this expenditures. And then but when I came to their schedule, I noticed that their schedule, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but they had 4 like tiger preschool classes, and they had 3 members. And then they're like, yeah, we just moved a lot of kids to a lot of our 5 and 6-year-olds. They graduated that class and then they moved up. I said, oh, okay. So I said, it appears that your tigers group is like my tigers group. I call it foundations, right? So we cap our schools at 40, right? Because like I have a target. I want to have 400 members on my floor plans. That allows me to do all my curriculum with my weapons and this and all that. I have a flex schedule. I rotate my curriculum by month. So the flex schedule allows people to not be committed to a specific class. So when I take the number 400, and at my academy, I'm trying to calculate, I've been doing once a week for under red belt for over 12 years now. If I have 400 members in a perfect world attending once a week, it's the same pressure. 400 people once a week, 200 people twice a week. That's an average of 19 on the class schedule that I have. My class schedule is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. My schools are open from Tuesday to Saturday. So when it comes to your schedule, know what your targets are. And so I was telling this person, I said, hey, the school that I just opened up like in September, it's been like less than 6 months. We have like over 200 members, but of those 200 members, they're like literally like 180 of them are like yellow belts and below because they just joined. So I said, when it comes to our tigers, we call it foundations. We have a waiting list most of the time, but currently I have 36. I only have 2 classes a week. You have literally, and we move people too, right? So you literally have 4 classes and you have 3 members. Like, how does that make sense? You have to start classes on time. You have to finish on time. You have to have a strict schedule. You have to have a strict curriculum, in my opinion. And if that, you're still going to have variation. But there's also something new. You might have heard of them. They're called the Savannah Bananas. If you've never heard of it, you should look it up. It's a phenom, right? This blew up. And basically, these people have like 30, 40 million followers, more than Major League Baseball teams. And this guy's story is incredible. He almost lost everything, and they're selling out stadiums, right? And if they were a martial arts school, they have no testing fees, no upgrades, no contracts, no this, no that. When you go to his baseball game, there's no fees, there's no parking, there's no this, there's that. When you go to the baseball game, it started at $15 and included your food.
Let me say something most martial arts school owners don't want to hear. Working harder is not what's going to grow your school. Most school owners are grinding every day, teaching classes, answering messages, running trials, posting on social media, and still stuck at the same number of students month after month. You start wondering, what am I doing wrong? Why are other schools growing faster? Why does it feel like I'm working more but getting less? Here's the truth. It's not effort. It's not talent. It's the way you think about your business. That's exactly why we created Black Belt Banter. This podcast is free, but it's not entertainment. We talk about real problems school owners face: marketing, staff, retention, revenue, the things nobody teaches you when you open a school. Black Belt Banter helps you think like a school owner who's growing, not one who's just trying to survive. But thinking the right way is only step one, because knowing what to do is very different from knowing exactly how to do it. That's where ASA Live comes in. ASA Live gives you the details, step-by-step systems, exact strategies, real instructions you could use right away. Black Belt Banter shows you the direction. ASA Live shows you the path. And the school owners who use both are the ones adding students, increasing revenue, and building schools that actually grow year after year. If you're listening to Black Belt Banter, you're already ahead. And when you're ready for the next level, register at asamartialarts.com/live, or simply click on the description below to get started. Because growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you think different and then execute.
So I had a question, Master Chung. All the stuff you're saying makes so much sense. I was curious, for the classes that people are taking once a week, do they sign up for a specific day and do they reserve a spot, or they can just pick any day and they just show up? So that's question number one. And then question number two is, I think you are in touch with the modern world, right? The kids got to do soccer, they got to do other things. So what allows you to have them to just train once a week and progress? Because I think there's a component that you have them doing a lot of video training online, things like that. So if you could answer those two things.
So I have 80 capped members for my middle four programs: beginner kids, beginner teen and adults. I never want teen and adults to train with little kids. I don't care how good they are. And then I have an upgraded performance group for the kids and for the teen and the adults. And it used to be different, but now you can stay in these programs for 2 years and these programs for 2 years. It takes 5 to 7 years to get your black belt. And to answer your question, a member will get it. We used to have printed schedules. Now we're completely digital, because like you're teaching class, I have another class in 10 minutes because sometimes I have a break. And then you have an intro, you have a guest, somebody has a question, this and that. And then somebody says, sir, I need a schedule. So like we went completely digital. Enrollment, all of the, and there's nobody touches anything. It's literally, I don't even swipe your credit card. It literally is all virtual. And if you're not doing that, why? That doesn't make any sense to me, but I just pay the fees. It's totally fine. There shouldn't be so much friction in consumption. Oh, so just, it's totally fine. And you have to pick your battles. But when they go to our app, they will see that there are 4 classes every week available for their level. And they can go on Monday one week, no, not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Saturday. They don't even have to tell us. We should not have a problem where we have too many people on the floor. Then we enrolled too many people. Yes, it happens where we have 24, because when you have an average of 19, you're gonna have some classes of 24, you're gonna have some classes of 14. It's gonna happen. But ideally, you just stay ahead of it a little bit. And it gets crazy when classes get packed. But my curriculum and my experience is designed so that one instructor can teach the entire class, because we do rotational curriculum, we do a flex schedule, our curriculum changes by month. I do a 3-month testing cycle. So we do forms and weapons one month, sparring and self-defense the next month, mock testing and testing the third month. And that's just, it's pretty simple. But if you're struggling with where you are, it's not just one particular thing.
Well, one of the things I know what I did was I made sure my basic course, my beginner's course classes were always immediately after my black belt club. Because what do kids come in? What do they see? They always come in 10 minutes ahead, especially in the beginner's class. Why? They're so excited. It's the first 6 months of their martial arts training. They're there early. The parents are there watching them. The parents are like, every kick that they throw, they're like enthusiastic, because any sport in the beginning, they're just super enthusiastic, super motivated, super excited. So they come 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before, and what do we have them do? We have them on their knee or sitting down, patiently disciplining, waiting for their class. But what are they doing? They're watching their black belt club, their age black belt club. And in the black belt club, they're doing nunchucks, they're doing weapons, they're doing sparring, they're doing everything the basic course are not allowed to do. So they visually see, and they have a different color uniform, right? Basic course wears a white uniform, plain white. Their yellow belt, orange belt, whatever their belt they're at. Black belt club is that blue uniform. They're intermediate, they're advanced level. Their kicks are better, faster, weapons. They seem to be having more fun. So you're making your basic course visualize, hey, what is that? how do I get into that? And then the parents are saying, so if they never see your black belt club and then all of a sudden after 6 months you're like, oh, join our black belt club program, the parents are like, oh, what is that? I don't know. Can you tell me something about it? You have to schedule your classes to show what their goals are, what they need to do. And the kids if there's a 10-year-old kid and you have a 10-year-old black belt and they see the 10-year-old black belt being more disciplined, answering yes or no, sir. And then all the beginner parents see that, of course they want their kids to join into that. And then you explain to them it's our invited program that's dedicated. You have trained for X amount of years. This is called our Black Belt Club. When your kid is ready, I'll talk to you about that. But right now, let's have them build on their basics, their foundation. And that's why the class scheduling is so important. You have to have all your beginners see what's available to you out there. Master J. Lee, do you have something like that? Is that what you recommend as well?
Well, I want to go back just real quickly to the point you asked about, do you have people just come whenever they can, or do they reserve a spot? And I see that I see good sides of both. And I think it just goes back to the philosophy of the school owner, because some examples that we live in our personal life, right? Like we belong to a Lifetime Fitness, and when we go to a class, you have to reserve a spot. You got to get it. And so it does create some more commitment. It creates a little bit more seriousness to it. I have my son in another program that is the same way. So I get that side. It gets people to commit and say, hey, yes, I'm going to come to that class. It creates value, right? If you can't make it, you're going to lose your opportunity in the future. I see that, but for me, our philosophy is similar to Master Chung, is that we understand that families, they're really busy. As much as we believe Taekwondo should be number one, the reality is you have multiple kids, they're doing other activities. So we allow people just to come whenever they can, and we provide those options. Going to your other point, Master Hong, I agree with what you're saying. I think that you have to provide a path and vision for students so they can see, this is my goal to move forward for. My program is structured very similarly, that we have our basic program. They're focusing on philosophy, fundamentals, attitude first, and then we have people qualify for our Black Belt Club program. So there's always going to be some overlap, and I definitely think there's value to having people see what they can do next. Another thing that we do in some of our classes is that we have an adult class, and we have all mixed levels, and we'll have that class for an hour. And then the basic members can come for the first 45 minutes. And then after that 45 minutes, we dismiss them. And then we focus just on the Black Belt Club curriculum after that. So that's another spin on doing that, so that people can see, hey, this is a different program. This is what I aspire to do. We also have teams in our class schedule. So we have like demo team and sparring team, Kumse team. And so having those after certain classes, people want to do those kind of things. So I definitely agree with you, Master Hong. How letting people see the vision and what they can shoot for is definitely important on having people aspire to go to the next program and have longevity in the system.
Oh, so you went even a step further, Master J. Instead of having, okay, let's say your basic class is at 5:30 and you have your Black Belt Club at 4:30, so the 5:30 could see the 4:30 as they come in. You actually have them start together at 4:30, and then you have different levels, and then the basic course is dismissed early while the advanced level stays and train longer.
Yeah, we do that in some classes. And then again, this goes back to what we learned at COVID is we used to separate every class, right? We'd have 6, 7 classes a day, but we started to combine classes out of necessity at the time. But over time, we learned that like we're doing just as good or better numbers of attendance and revenue by keeping things shorter and just ending the evening earlier, letting our students go home earlier, letting our staff go home earlier. And so if we do have a combined class with beginners and the Black Belt Club, we might do half the class together. And then if you have enough floor space or you have enough instructors, we just separate it out. And so they can continue to say, oh, that's what I want to look forward to in my training. We do it multiple ways like that. But I do think that just over time, I think this mentality of our society, that's what happened in COVID. A lot of people are choosing not to work as much. They'd rather take less money and have more freedom. They'd rather have more personal time. I think people more and more value their time with families. So that's why we over time for our schools, we've reduced our class schedule. We've combined classes more. We end a lot earlier in the evening, and we're still doing very well. So I think adjusting to society is really critical. And it goes back to my original point is data, right? You can look at it. Like when I first came up, we first talked about it as staff, we're like, we can't do that. No, what are you talking about? But we learned that we're still doing really well, but by shifting things. And so it's just more efficient.
That's brilliant, Master J. Master Philip, do you have anything to add to that? What do you think about that?
Gosh, you covered it all.
Having
He covered everything. This guy, this Master Lee,
Well,
he just covered everything.
he disagreed. He said he's not brilliant.
No, there are some great things that I like to piggyback off, and I think it's called stacking. I call it stacking. Is appropriately placing the classes for bigger vision and having them inspired through others, through black belts. And in addition, what I have implemented is the intent of my leaders to be able to help out. So, meaning I will have a black belt class 4 p.m. on a Wednesday. And then people will be like, why do you put a black belt class 4 p.m. on a Wednesday? Why don't you just put it on the evening class? That's prime time. You should be giving it to your little tigers or your solid belt class. But I put it there purposely because the students that want to take positions as leaders and want to assist in the next class is now going to have an efficient time to get dropped off at 4, do their class at 4 to 4:45, and then assist in the next class right after. So they don't have to come on a different day. It just stacks, right? And then they assist and they do their volunteer hours, and then they can go home. Right? It's a very efficient way of doing. Same. I heard some schools that do birthday parties, right? They do amazing birthday parties on Saturdays. But what do they do with their demo team? They schedule their demo team practice right before the birthday party, right? So they have their demo team practice. They showcase a demo for 15 minutes. So every weekend they have a show to do, right? And then they perform the birthday party. And then it's a whole weekend just stacked up together. It's a very efficient time management. I also end every class before 8:30. So after COVID, every class starts around at 4, and then some classes end even earlier, 7:45, but most classes end at 8:30. We have our Saturday morning class. Yes, sir.
Sorry, sir. Finish your thought, and then I have a question for you.
Yes, sir. We have our Saturday morning class, and I used to have two classes in the morning for the adults. And I eliminated one, but I kept one. I kept one because I saw the value of how loyal the people were that were attending the morning classes. It's the adults. And a lot of times these adults, they are more than happy to volunteer and help out in your testings, in your events, right? So I saw the value in how important it is to keep an adult commodity at your dojo. So 11 a.m. morning class, do I really need it? No, there's not enough people to suffice. But in the other side is that these people will be your most loyal, dedicated students. They can help out in events, testings, and it's a very good commodity that you have that to grow as a culture within your school. That's why I see the value in also in morning classes. Yes, sir. Master Yaley, you had a question?
So I wanted to ask you to share a little bit about your philosophy and your class time, because for us back in the day, our classes were always an hour long, and now our class long. And then you said, hey, you should just make it 40 minutes long. So you're just doing now 40-minute classes, so you can accomplish the same amount in less time, gives you more opportunity to do more classes. So can you just talk a little bit about how you
Yes, sir.
decided to do the 40-minute class and what made you make those changes and how you've seen that kind of progress over the years?
That's a great question, sir. So back in the day, we used to have an hour class, and those hour classes turned to 50 minutes. And then all of a sudden, we started to place in our 4 and 5-year-olds, and a 50-minute class for them were just impossible. After 30 minutes, they'll burn out. So we decided Super Tigers, students that are in kindergarten, they are 30-minute classes. And we also have advanced and beginner level Super Tigers 30 minutes. It works out perfect. And then for our solid belt classes, we used to run a 15-minute class. Now we run 40 minutes. 50-minute class, there was, in my opinion, there was a lot of downtime. So we killed all the downtime. No one ever sits in a class, right? It's 40 minutes, nonstop action. There isn't even a water break. We just go straight through. That actually helped us a little bit because one of our biggest issues that we were facing was the crowdness of our lobby and our parking lot. And going back to back classes really didn't meet the philosophy and our vision of I want to be able to talk to my students' parents, say, "Oh, Johnny's doing this so well today. This is some things that he can work on." I want to be able to conversate with my parents. I just didn't want to be that check in, check out kind of dojo. So we actually use that time not to hit another class, but that 5-10 minute buffer time to be able to talk with the parent, right? To have the class flow in a very efficient, safe way. So that 40 minutes
So
class,
just to
for me,
clarify,
is
Master
yes,
Chung,
sir.
you sorry to interrupt, but just to clarify your point, you build in 5 to 10 minutes between each class to specifically give you time to interact with the students and parents. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, sir. Correct,
Got
sir.
it.
So class starts at 4, ends at 4:40 on class schedule. But my next class will start at 4:50 or 4:45, right? So
Oh,
there's always a 5 to 10 minute window gap between every class. And I still made it work because all my classes end at latest 8:30. So it's just how you can be
but I'm sorry. I'm
efficient.
sorry.
Yeah,
But parking is your parking. The traffic on your parking is one of the reasons you did that too, though,
of
Master
course,
Philip.
safety. Safety is if your class schedule doesn't promote safety and create chaos, that's more stress, not on you, not only on the students and teachers, but also on the parents, right? Let's say you have this great facility, but parents don't want to drive into your facility because it's a chaos. So that's just going to create another hurdle in your way of coming to the dojo. You got to make it convenient. You got to make coming to Taekwondo an easy thing to do. You can't make it a hard thing. But this is a big but. When it comes to like my demo team, when it comes to my performance team that I have, I am very set with them. I tell them, this is the schedule. You're committed to this is the time. The flexibility that I give is more to my recreational students.
That
Have
makes
That,
sense.
sorry, go ahead, sir.
we only have a fixed limit of time, and that's from 4 to 8. We have to use it wisely.
But I was going to say, I think that's the beauty of martial arts, right? Is that everybody's system's a little bit different. Their community is a little bit different. There's so many factors that play a part in it. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. It just works what's best for you. I think for me, our philosophy is a little bit different, right? We don't have any gaps in times because we want to maximize that class time. But also my situation is a little bit different where I have two large classrooms. So what I do is I overlap, right? So if my first 10 minutes of a class is always a warm up, the next class is finishing. So really you still have 40 minutes of classroom time with the lead instructor, but the 10 minutes we're overlapping. So we have classes going on simultaneously for a lot of the time, but we're fortunate. We have the two floors, but if you don't have the two floors, what you're saying makes complete sense. So I think there's so many factors play a part: your facility, your community, the income level of your community. And I think that's one of the things that we found in our schools is that like we have an adult class in one community that is like consistently 20 people in the mornings. We tried it at
Wow.
other locations and they only get 3 to 4. And the reason that happens is that this community is a little bit more affluent. You have people who are retirees, you have stay-at-home moms or dads, you have pilots, things like that. So I think demographics, location, income, all that stuff plays a part in when you're making a class schedule for your location. And I think Master Chung, you could probably speak a lot to that because you have four facilities that are like in all different parts of the community.
Yeah, you really need to understand that the four of us here, our fathers were grandmasters, like we're multi-generation, like martial artists, and everybody here is not only just a successful business operator, but they're really good martial artists. You know what I mean? They've trained together. I've trained with Philip. I've trained with Jay and stuff. Our dads like grinded and beat it into us. Like we had the teaching endurance of I was at the dojo more than I was at school, and that's just the life of a grandmaster's kid. And I just want you guys to understand that if you're listening to this, some people just don't know what it's like. It's just different. It's like being a pastor's kid, being a grandmaster's kid. It's got its own unique, amazing things, and it's got its own unique challenges. But one thing about Philip and Master Hong, of course, and Master Jay Lee and Master Philip Jeung, these guys, we all do different things and different versions of things, but we have gone toe to toe about curriculum, about schedule, about marketing. And most people are playing checkers. They can't get past the first move. But to be at this level, it's not just in business multi-moves. We're talking about curriculum because our dads are like, yeah, they don't care how much money we bring into our schools. They're like, boy, you're going to disgrace the family name. Like you cannot give black belts away. You cannot just have a bunch of kids. You need adults. You know what I mean? You need to help the community, boy. You know what I mean? It's a lot. So there are things that we have done and we navigate towards to find our own levels of success because we have different Venn diagram layers of lenses that we're trying to see through and objectify our target. So I just want you to understand, like, for those of you that are, it doesn't matter if you're a kung fu school, jujitsu, karate, taekwondo. If martial arts is something where it's like we're a group of school owners that it's our culture, it's our life, it is, and it happens to be our business. But it's something that it's like it's deeply embedded into the pride of the fabric of who we are. It's our identity. And I just want you to know that we don't always agree on the same thing. Our schedules won't look the same, and it doesn't have to be. But there are so many common denominators that if we were to talk about what they are not going to be things in particular, but they're going to be principles. And one of the greatest principles that you'll get from not just listening to this episode, but our entire podcast, especially going forward, is that I want you to learn to think how Master Jay Lee thinks. I want you to learn to see how, because we're learning things about each other as we're talking all the time. And I want you to know that you have to find your why. I'm like, listen, don't teach more classes, teach less classes that are better. Forget about an hour class. Teach a 30-minute class and have it magical. Make it a show so that when your clients, when your guest, when the parent sees class, puts their phone up and says, you wouldn't believe what the philosophy was. You wouldn't believe what Johnny just did. You wouldn't believe what I just saw, what I just experienced. And Banana Ball, Savannah Bananas, they spend $0 on marketing. So if you're like, man, I need to like spend money on marketing, I'm telling you, you don't need anything other than to be better. We all have to be better.
Master Chung,
How's
I
that?
have one question for you though. How much money
sir.
did you invest in Savannah Bananas?
$150
This
a ticket.
this podcast
for
is sponsored by
5
Savannah
tickets.
Bananas.
Dude, I want us to have our next Asa in Georgia so we can have Korean barbecue and go see Savannah Bananas, and then maybe we can time it to go see the Masters. It'd be great.
What you're saying, it makes so much sense. It really is true.
You have got to watch. There's so much online content. You wouldn't believe what you're going to see.
Let's stop
and
the
it's so
podcast now. Let's go
fun.
watch it right now. Master Hong, put it on.
I do want to introduce on this episode something new. I did ask our ASA members. ASA means American. ASA, us with Master Chan Lee. ASA is American School Owners Association. We're the board for that association. But we did ask our members if they have any questions on the podcast. So I would like to end our podcast with one or a few of these questions. And Master Seng Miko has a question, and that question is, it's multiple questions actually. I've been thinking about lately, there are lessons that your mentor grandmasters tried to teach you, but you didn't think was correct. But now, many years in, you realize that they were right. On the opposite end, lessons that no longer apply. I would also be interested in the use of technology in lessons, electronic training equipment like Zamita. Is it worth it? Having a screen in class to show examples. Does anyone do it? Probably not. I think it's much faster to just demo it yourself. Or does anyone do a group video review for sport pumse or sparring? Is that in regular class or a separate session? Or do people think no screens period during in-person training, but use video resources for motivated students such as a media library and Kicksite, or more controversial? I have heard some academic professors use ChatGPT for lessons planning. Would that make sense for Taekwondo? Master Philip, you want to try to tackle there's many questions in there. One of those
Yes, sir.
questions, Master Philip?
So I think one of the questions that kind of stuck out to me was the usage of video in class. I think that was one of the questions. And what I have found out is that it really depends on who you're presenting it to, right? So if this is your high-level Pumse athlete team, yes, video analysis should be and has to be implemented in your class. I used to play sports as a kid too, and when we played football, we had actually a time where we set aside and just watched film. right? And we watch teams, how they competed with one another. And this is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't do. And same thing with Taekwondo, right? I remember when I was competing, I used to rewatch my competition videos all the time. And that's how I learned, hey, I shouldn't be picking up on these habits. I need to go back and fix these bad habits, right? Now, when it comes to your recreational twice a week average student, I wouldn't recommend it because from what I have experienced is they already have a hard time focusing. And you put a video screen in front of them, it makes it very difficult for them to listen to you at the same time, look at the screen. And there's just too many, I guess you could, too many voices, right? You need one clear directional voice when it comes to your recreational. That's my advice, sir.
My advice is just do what Savannah Bananas do. That's it.
I'm trying.
No, but I think there's a ton of really great questions. I'd like to address the one about what the Grandmaster shared. I think that's one of the things that as I've evolved as a school owner and gotten older, understanding the way my father, his philosophy versus what I felt in my early 20s, I think most of us feel this way, is that eventually we've realized our dad was right. And what I mean by that is that back when in my early 20s, I was like, we've got to have all this curriculum. We got to teach them all these different things. We got to challenge them. We got to do all these different things. We got to make our curriculum tough. And it's going to make people want to keep coming to training. He said, well, you got too much curriculum. People need to just have fun. It needs to be not stressful. They need to get a really good sweat. And over the years, I've really understand that and embraced that more because families are busy and all these different curriculums, I think, can be stressful for people, and you want Taekwondo to be something fun, and it's about personal development, it's about philosophy. That stuff is more important than, okay, you got to learn all 8 of these Taekwondo Pumsens, right? So I think that's something that I really believe in, is that Taekwondo, obviously, naturally, inherently, you're going to exercise, you're going to learn self-defense, you're going to learn all these different skills, but really you have to understand why parents are here. They want their kids to become more confident. They want them to be more respectful. Obviously, we want them to have good technique, but having all this curriculum is not what matters. It's teaching them about being a good person and respecting their elders, respecting their parents. So I think that's one thing that I really value, is that understanding that yes, curriculum is important, but you shouldn't have such a huge, robust curriculum that makes it too challenging for people. It's too stressful. So I think we've gone back to a little bit more of the fundamentals of let's have a lot of fun. Let's all sweat. Let's work out hard. Let's make it so everybody wants to continue to come back to class and say, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to achieve that black belt because I got to learn all this stuff and I'm not going to be able to do it. So that's one thing that I really believe in.
That's a great
That's a
point,
great
Master
point.
J.
Yes, sir.
Master Tony, there was a lot of questions on that. Any of these questions stuck out to you, Master Tony?
Yeah, the stuff about like equipment and stuff. Like I have locations that in 2,000 square feet, we spent close to $200,000 on the build out, and like I ordered some sensors recently. And I used to work with Macho. I used to be the head of the R&D department, so I love equipment. But I pulled up a picture. I don't know if you could see this. It says April 2019, 11 years old. That's actually my daughter's belt. And I got another picture here real quick. Let me see. Yeah, this is from yesterday. I don't know if you could see it, but if you could see all those belts, they're all black belts all over
This
the
is great
walls.
for our audio only listeners, by the way.
Oh, great. You need to get on YouTube. Last cycle, I did something called I Need a Breakthrough, and I did all these boards, and they wrote what was their breakthrough and what was holding them back on the other side, and they eventually broke it after 3 months. So every 3 months, we do a teaching series. Right now, we're doing one called Like a Black Belt. And so I bought 1,000 black belts. Literally, my martial arts supplier, I bought the entire black belt supply for the whole year. They're like, holy smokes. I'm like, I don't want to tap you out. And they're like, no, you got to do this every year. I said, I'm going to do it every year. And we have this teaching series right now called Like a Black Belt. And we're giving every student, doesn't matter if you're first dan, it'll be your second dan target. If you're a white belt, yellow belt, it'll be your first dan target. It should take 5 to 7 years. Between first and second, it should take another 2-3 years. And we basically have a projected graduation date. The first day they pick their black belt that speaks to them. It's already pre-tied, because when they're there for 30 minutes, when they're there for 40 minutes, it's never enough. So we want to make sure they work out super hard. We spend tens of hours oftentimes prepping for that 30 minutes, that 40 minutes. There's a difference, right? So when I do a demo, I'm preparing like the music, I'm preparing the experience. So if you're thinking like Master Sang Ko, I've seen some of her videos. She's a great martial artist. I believe she's a second gen master. And I always see her doing her forms. She's an awesome martial artist and teacher, clearly, and a mom, great mom. And I don't want you to feel like you have to buy equipment, because I've bought hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment, and it just sits like I have a dojo in my basement and I got a bunch of shit in there and you don't use it. There's so many schools, more than half should close because the money that we're charging is so much in a tough economy. Like, the starving audience is not somebody that wants a hot dog for fulfillment. They need purpose. They need energy. They need breakthroughs. They need to feel special, right? So that when they're a teenager, they don't question, like, what is this life? When they're 40, they're not like having a midlife crisis. What is this marriage? What is this business? What is this? Part of who I am is not because I got to work in movies or I got to make some money with multiple schools. Part of who I am is what I earned and learned on the floor, cleaning it, training on it, watching my dad bleed and sweat on it. And if I don't share that with my students, they'll never have you wouldn't believe moments, right? So I would just beg you to do that, Master Co. I would think that if you have a couple $1,000s, don't buy equipment, buy belts, buy books, give it away. Give stuff away that will be a platform for a conversation of a you wouldn't believe moment.
All
Only
right.
bananas.
But
Awesome,
but
Master
I
Tony
think it's all
Chung.
about experience, right? I think when you lay down, just
Yes.
about the experience, and I think that's the unique opportunity and privilege we have is providing the right experience, and everybody's philosophy and what you believe that experience should be. But I think that's the big takeaway is what are our students' experiences, whether that's curriculum design, class schedule design, getting out of the carpool line, like Master Junk said, right? It's about the experience.
All right, all right. That wraps up today's episode of the Black Belt Banter on profit-driven class schedule. Why your schedule matters more than you think. If there's one takeaway, it's this. Your class schedule isn't just a calendar, it's a business strategy. A huge thank you to Master Tony Chung, Master Jay Lee, and Master Philip Jeung for sharing real-world insights and proven systems from high-performing schools. Now, don't just listen to this episode and move on. Take action. Look at your schedule, identify what you can optimize, merge, or reposition. Small changes can make big results. And if you want deeper support, live coaching, and step-by-step strategies specific to your school, join us inside ASA Live, our monthly coaching community for martial arts school owners. We meet live, answer your questions, and help you implement what you learn right away. You can register at asamartialarts.com/live. Until next time, we'll see you on the next episode of Black Belt Banter.